Hey Maya.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm well, thank you. Yourself?
Yes, I'm awesome, actually. Thank you for asking.
How is your arm coming on?
It's cool. It's been like 2 weeks since I had surgery, so I'm supposed to get a new cast on Friday. But yeah,
This
fun stuff.
coming Friday or Friday gone?
Yeah, this coming Friday I get a new
Yeah.
cast. Well, they have to take out whatever, I don't know, little thing they connected my skin back together with. I don't know. It's like, I guess, new age stitches. I don't know. I've never had surgery, so I don't know I don't know. But there's something in there they have to take out, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I get another one.
All right, cool. Is that one all graffitied up? It looks like it is from here.
Yeah, my goddaughter, she was writing on it, so she's not 2 yet. So there's some of her stuff, and then her mom felt the need to then label that she wrote it as if I didn't know that. And then we tried to write her name on my arm here, and then my best friend wrote a little passage on this side, and then my boyfriend wrote his. Oh, it's just a whole lot of stuff on my arm. So yeah, I need a new one. This is a little busy now.
I bet the nurses who deal with it all have some fun just reading through some of the comments and stuff that are written
Yeah,
on
like
there.
it's just, I mean, she wrote a whole like paragraph on my arm. So, that's all good.
Yeah, cool. So how's your week been since we last spoke?
It's been pretty awesome. I was reading Feeling is the Secret, by Neville Goddard.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, I guess it finally got in there into my head. Well, and I also decided not to speed through it like I do everything, like everything in life, honestly. Like even since I was a kid, I was thinking about it earlier. Like I was always the first one done with my work, right? Like always. And it just kind of progressed, right? Through life, you don't really change it until you change it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna read it, slowly and for understanding and not just read it to read it. So I did, and I was like, oh wow, this is pretty good information for me to understand. And it seemed like I understood it more. And I could connect it to like pieces of my life and then how I think and what I produce and all that. So I definitely have decided to slow down. I figured God put me in this cast, just slow down in the first place.
Absolutely.
But I mean, he was like, slow down, not like, like stop.
Stop.
So yeah, so that, coming to that kind of realization, my left hand writing is super great. So that's awesome. So now ambidextrous. And yeah, it was just cool to read it and like really understand it, I think. And then I've also been reading Money is God in Action. That's a good one as well. Super, super great. Very small book. Both of those are very small. But Money is God in Action just puts you in a different headspace about money.
Yeah.
Right. So it makes it so it kind of diminishes the idea that you had of money previous or whatever it is, whether it was positive or negative, and gives you like a sound kind of idea of how it works, what it is, and why it's important. Not important in the aspect of, like having lots of it, but just the circulation. Like that's what money is here for, to circulate the economy. Like everything circulates, right? Like the universe circulates. So that piece of it, understanding that. But yeah, so I've had a pretty enlightening experience these last few days, and I got my business mentor, which is also my aunt. I was not aware that she does the same thing essentially that Bob Proctor does, right? Okay. I never knew this, right? But she's had her business for 25 years at least, right? I'm 23. So, but I never knew what she did. I just, I knew she helped small businesses become, greater businesses or whatever. But, God or the universe has a way of giving you what you need when you need it, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't need to know that.
Yeah.
Previous to me now knowing that. So she's helping me with my business and all that. So it's been a pretty good 2 days. What's today? Tuesday, yeah. Pretty good 2 days for the week starting so far. But yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Good on you. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it's been going well.
Yeah. How's everything with you?
Yeah, it's been an interesting time. Obviously, with the passing of Betty, that was
Right.
huge for me,
Mm-hmm.
and then Beth and I actually did a partner and I, we did a 2-day self-worth event at the weekend. Well, it was 2.5
Okay.
days. It was pretty much like 40 to 50 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that we actually, it came off from I think it was called Mastermind and Money event that we did in January. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was going to be all around basically structuring your bank accounts and stuff. And it was a part of it, but that was like the end
Right.
part of the 2 days. It was more around really your self-worth and why we're blocking all this abundance coming into our
Mm-hmm.
lives.
Right.
So, and then that led into this other program called Relationships and You, which it was interesting because straight away, the event was supposed to happen, I think, March, April, but because of
Mm-hmm.
COVID,
Right.
not.
Right.
So when last week before the event, Beth and I were both in the headspace of, we've moved on since there. We're in a better space. We don't really need to go to this event.
Mm.
And anyway, I said to Beth, well, we've paid for it. We may as well go.
Right. You definitely pay
Yeah,
for it.
there's going to be something we'll get from it.
Right. Absolutely.
And it was, and I think with Bessie's passing and the way that I've had this connection with Bessie, and I knew there was stuff that I needed to work through and shift. So through that process, I'm not sure if that's Lynette Dollard that's jumped on. If it is, hi Lynette. Hey, and Tony just jumped on. So through that whole experience of the weekend was it was interesting just listening and observing as to what he was saying, because he spoke a lot around, hi Tony, he spoke a lot around the universal laws, and that's what really attracted me to him. He's like, you need to get out of this airy fairy stuff.
Right.
Everything in life is 100% scientifically proven on the universal laws. If you don't know them, you are losing out.
Absolutely.
So, and that's what attracted me when I first saw him back in January. And it was funny because Monday I actually had a meeting with the guy afterwards, and on the way I was listening to Bob Proctor, and Bob, I can't remember what audio it was, but it was probably something like "You Were Born to Be Rich,"
Right.
And he was talking around the law of compensation and stuff, and it just like I was now hearing it.
Right.
That weekend helped me crack open and start hearing more stuff around that. So, very, very excited to be diving into more around the universal laws, and even the part of the pages that I read yesterday and Think and Grow Rich, they were diving deeper. Napoleon was certain things, and then this morning listening to a chapter about winning the devil, there was more around that universal laws, and I'm like, I get the message. I get the message.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's still been very much a healing phase.
Right.
It's been through this stuff that's been coming up over the last few weeks in particular, but also acknowledging that, like you said before, the universe, like, oh God, stop, slow down, stop. And that's like myself. It's just been a case of this is to slow you down and just observe where you're at, have a look, and just nurture yourself through this time. So that's really been what's happening, especially over the last week. It was it was a full on 2.5 days. Full on 2.5 days. So yeah. How about yourself, Tony? How have you been over the last week, buddy?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you. Everything's going well. I'm just sorry, I was just looking back through what chapter 8 was about, because I finished reading the book ages ago. So I was looking through, I have a habit of highlighting as I go through the key points that stand out or resonate with me. Yeah. And so I can quickly flick through the chapter and pick out things that I realized as I was reading it.
Yeah, the definiteness of purpose, that one. It was when I saw it this morning, I was like, oh yes, this is a big one. So this is the Outwitting the Devil that we've been doing, Maya, in and the Gold Star Noble Goldman members in like my close community. We've been actually breaking down each chapter and reviewing it and discussing it. So, oh, hi Joe.
Hi. Everything is on screen these days.
So yeah, so that's what Tony was talking around that chapter 8, because we've got the Gold Star call after this, and we'll be reviewing it. So,
was it the next call? Sorry, I apologise.
Yeah, no, that's all right. No, not at all. So we were just Maya and I were just catching up on what the week's been like since we last spoke, and Maya was just saying it because I mentioned about a cast, and she's going and getting it off, and on Friday. So.
Must be getting to that itchy phase, is it?
Honestly, I think I just have a great spirit because it only itches right where I can get it, where my finger can go. It never itches long enough inside for me to actually need to itch it. Well, so I think I've been pretty good so far. But yeah.
I've never worn a cast, but that's what I've typically heard people say.
Yeah, this is my first experience, adulthood. It doesn't matter when it happens, as long as it does. So this is my first cast experience here. Surgery as well. So it's just all in one type thing.
You've done quite well not to have it all covered in graffiti. I thought most people normally come up and want to write things all over your cast.
Yeah, my goddaughter did. She did a little scribbling. She's not even 2 yet. So she did a little scribble here. And then her mom signed it for me just in case I forgot who scribbled on my cast. And then we wrote her name together. And then my best friend wrote something. And then my boyfriend wrote something. So it's a lot of stuff on here. So I just need a new one because this one looks really bad.
So you've got no excuse not to have your positive affirmations written there to remind
Absolutely,
you.
right, exactly. And the thing is, that's why it's like on my wrist right here, I got a tattoo of what our mind looks like. And I got it there because I, of course, want to look at it. So now that it's been covered up for the last 8 weeks, I kind of not forgot about it, but it hadn't had the same effect. So I put it on my phone so that I could see it every day instead of it being on my arm since it's all covered up. But yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, cool. I don't know where Lynette just went, and I don't know if it was the Lynette Dollard, but yeah, hopefully everything's all right there. Or if she was brand new to it, she's like, "What the hell is this? They're just waffling on." That's all good.
So I was just trying to think what happened in the last week. We had a situation on the weekend where we went out to celebrate my stepson's 27th birthday. And he has a history of epilepsy to go with his high-functioning autism. And unfortunately, with all the noise and excitement, a group of people together in the pub where we're listening to his favourite band, and he had a full-on tonic-clonic seizure in the pub. So we ended up having to get an ambulance for him and get him taken off to hospital. But he was fine. He recovered. No problem. That's just quite a normal event for us, I suppose, over the years. But unfortunately, having a seizure on your birthday is not the best of things. Not the end of the day that he was hoping for.
No. But he's all good now. I did see a picture that he had posted of him on the bed. But
yeah, no. It's kind of they just usually he comes out of it and they just like to, because he had 2 in a row. They like to do a check with the run all the tests on him and make sure that he's okay. Yeah. Usually he just comes home and sleeps it off then. Yeah. And he seems to be, it's like a reset button where he actually, for the next few days or weeks, even after that, he's amazing. His health is, it's like when you reset the computer, it clears out all the programs that are misfiring or something. It seems to get you back to a good state again.
Not serving. Yeah.
So the next night he's walking through to my office and helping me with stuff on the computer, and I'm thinking, who is this person? He, like normally he's struggling to get from his bedroom to the lounge room,
Yeah. Wow. Oh well.
So, yeah, it's been an interesting week there.
Yeah,
I have to go with that. When you say what have you done in the last week, I have to go and look through my diary because things seem to be blurring into one another at the moment. This year seems to be so strange. It's I can't. Unless I write it down, I'm sort of going, hang on, was that this week or was that the week before?
Senior moment.
Yeah, it must be.
I was saying to Maya that I was at, have you heard of MJB seminars, Tony?
NJB?
MJB with Mitch Bean.
No.
Yeah, so Beth and I did a money mindset, Mastermind Your Money or something like that, event earlier in the year. And a few of my friends have done his full courses, all this guy's courses. And there's two of them. There's a guy and a girl, Amelia and Mitch. And it was basically talking about self-worth, and then, the reason why money's not coming in and so on is because of your own self-worth. But they did cover some strategic stuff around setting up your bank accounts, and everyone who's implemented it has turned around and said that they've been amazed at how much more money they do have. It's not necessarily more money's coming in as such, but the way that it's positioned and placed in these different accounts and the way that they use those accounts, they've got more money to actually save and buy the things that they need and so on. So I was like, okay, well, that's cool. But anyway, we did this 2.5-day event at the weekend because it was put off due through COVID. And there was some really good stuff, and it went back to early childhood stuff and like who's been the one that's caused, you to basically be screwed up. But really empowered you just couldn't see that. And one of the things that he was talking about was values. And it was really interesting because he was talking about values in relationships. And I've kind of, we've covered around values, and I've done value training before. And one of the things that he did this whole like presentation, but it was I'm trying to think, when he was acting out a situation in regards to a relationship, and he was talking about the females. So he used the female as an example with the 5 values, and it was like hanging out with the girls, shopping, like these different 5 values. And he basically then did this scenario and this whole performance with meeting this guy and like in this bar, and he's like, oh, he's sexy and all this stuff, and it was hilarious. I haven't laughed.
About your relationship with money, yeah.
Pardon?
It's all about your relationship with money.
Well, this wasn't this at this point. It wasn't. It was. It's all significant. It's all related, but at the same time, it was actually about our values. And he said the problem why most relationships fail is because we get into a situation. In fact, do you want me to get my board and just show you what he drew out to us?
Sure.
You cool with that?
Just check my mic's attached.
Is my sound all right, by the way? Because
it should be on my microphone now.
There's a problem with my speakers where I have to get my laptop sorted out. It's vibrating and making strange noises.
No, it sounds good over here.
Okay, cool. Cold over there.
I really just keep my house cold enough for me to have a blanket just because I like blankets. But yeah, I don't know.
Get in the habit of cleaning that off after I've used it.
It's always been a thing.
Okay. So what he was saying was that, and I'm allowed to share this, he gave us permission. So what he said was that, in fact, I'm going to do it. Oh, Beth's got that board. I'll do it like this. So you guys can see, yeah. So what he said is that when we come into a relationship, there's 2 people. And what happens is that within our values of 100%, we need to have 25% from one and 25 from another, and 75% over here. So what he says is what most people do is they actually give away their values without realizing, because they're like, well, I want the relationship. So when he was talking yesterday around like hanging out with the girls, and he said like if that's one of the top 5 values of her, and you've got your values here. So I'll put val, and then you've got your voids. And he said, so let's imagine the top one here is hanging out with the girls, and they go to a party and they fall out for some way because he doesn't like her friends. She gets to a point where she's like hanging out with the girls' relationship, hanging out with the girls' relationship, hanging out with the girls' relationship. I choose my relationship. So all of a sudden she loses that, and then hanging out with the girls becomes a void. So she's giving away her power all the time. And what ends up happening is eventually she loses all of her values for the relationship, and then she's not happy. And the guy that she got with liked her because of who she was here and the energy she brought into the relationship. And now she's not. So then in this case, he gets bored. So what he was saying was that when you step into a relationship, the most important question you can ask somebody is, what are your values? Who are you? What is it that you like? And find that out then. And then also find out where your values align. Knowing that these are the things we do together, but you need to be doing your own things and filling your own cup here. And I need to respect that and understand if you need to go out and be on your own, or you need to go and do whatever you need to do and hang out with your mum, and your mum's a pain in the backside, whatever it is. Like from the guy's side, as in the mother-in-law, that's what you need, and it's part of your value system. So he said what tends to happen is that we actually end up here as like we break away and we end up as one. But there has to be two people, and when we become into one, when we actually merge together because we give away our values, we create this line where it's a positive and a negative. But all we're seeing is the negative, and all they're seeing is the negative in us, if that makes sense. Because they're not living their values, so they're not getting the positive. And I'm not living my values because I've given them away, and so she's not seeing the positive in me. So it made me realize that, and he said, a lot of you aren't living by your values. And I'm going, well, I've been doing loads of stuff on values over the last few months in particular. So then I'm questioning myself. Am I not? Do I even know what values are? Have I learned them? Am I being taught them the wrong way? Is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? And so my question to him was then, because we were talking a lot around, like he said, I don't work. Like I come here and I've given all these hours. Yes, you've paid, but there's a long time, but I don't see this as work. I'm excited about it. And he said, most of you are giving away your values, as in what you'd love to do, and you can monetize that, but you're giving it away to just go and exist. Now, I said to him, well, this is interesting then. I love what I do and I feel aligned. I don't see it as work. I feel like I'm stepping into my vision every day. But if I was to pick 5 values, I guarantee I'm only living by one of them. Because from a point of me stepping into work, I'm not going down to the beach. I'm not spending that time in nature. I'm not hanging around socializing with friends. Like, I'm not going and looking after myself physically by going to the gym 3-4 days a week or whatever it would be. And he said, well, and I said, so how does that work then when I'm already doing something I love and I'm being filled from that, but it's all that I do? If I happen to be on the beach, I'm thinking about, I should be on the computer doing this work. I should be creating this video. I should be getting this program done. When I'm doing that, I'm thinking, I mean, you'll have heard this from Jim Rohn as well, I'm sure, Tony, who's like, when I'm at the beach, I'm thinking about, should be at work. When I'm at work, I'm thinking I should be with the family at the beach. So, and that's the way that I've been thinking. And he said, well, the problem that you've got is that you're so focused on one, you're out of balance and you will fall over. Eventually, it will knock you over. So it made me realize when he went through this and thought, I thought, okay, well, I really need to reevaluate what is important to me and then schedule that into my diary. So it's in there and I go, no, this is a non-negotiable, and it's about what fuels Martin. The work's not first, what fuels Martin, because then when we're looking at the laws of the universe, you wanting to be wanting the universe to reward you. Well, the universe in a way is looking and going, well, how are you rewarding yourself? How are you looking after yourself? How are you showing up? So I'm gonna give you people coming onto your calls. I'm gonna give you people who want to join Noble Goldman or whatever it will be. But if you want to monetize that, show me some other areas in your life where you're worthy of that, if that makes sense. So that's one of the things I got. So when I spoke to Mitch yesterday, on Monday, I said to him, okay, you were talking around the values and you don't go into that in this event. However, if I was to say to you, my top 3 are love, adventure, and authenticity, what would you say based on what you know about me? And he said, yeah, they're definitely aligned with you, but they've only got you to this point. For you to take it up to the next level, they're not your 3 values. And he's like, the fact you've not even got money in there and you want to travel around the world and do all this stuff for free and give back to people, you need money for that. Why isn't money up in your top 3 values? And I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, straight away, if it's not in your top 3, you've got a block. I'm like, bloody hell. So it was really interesting seeing it from the relationship side and then going, do you know what? I've never asked that question. To find out where we align from a 25% each, to bring that into 50, because obviously that there is 50%, as we know. So there's the half of the whole relationship that's actually together. And then out we go. So I know that like Beth and I are going to have a good chat around this in regards to what she needs to do, because I know that she's given away a lot to just align with what we're doing. But at what cost? Because then it's definitely created a level of this relationship is a bit boring.
Well, there's an interesting thing I picked up when you were talking there.
Hang on, Tony. Can you hear Tony, Maya? Oh, hang on a sec. It might just be my setting. Just bear with me a sec, Tony. Go on, mate.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's there. Yeah, it's my speaker was down.
Okay, so there's an interesting thing I picked up listening to you there, and that I had never noticed before. And you used the word reevaluate. So within that word is the word value. So it's important, I think, to not just look at your values as something. When I'm doing coaching work with people, the very first thing I start with is values. You might remember that. Mm. So I do a values exercise with people, and one of the key things about that is that most people never actually stop to consider what their own values are. It's only when they come across, like going on a course like you've done or coming into contact with a coach, that somebody says, hang on, what are my values? We kind of have a sort of implicit understanding of the things that are important to us because that's where we put our focus. So, you know, family are important to you. You tend to spend a lot of time with family. If you're into soccer, you're living, breathing soccer, whatever it is. So, but you're right. When you meet somebody else, one of the first and most important things to do is find out, are you on the same wavelength? Which again, most people would try to do that, but without actually asking that question, what are your values? Because if they've never thought to ask themselves what their own values are, they're not going to think to ask somebody else. Yeah. And interestingly, I did do that exercise with Jo quite a few years back, my partner. I got her to do the values exercise that I normally give with my clients. And we went through and we found that I'd say that's probably a fairly good ratio. We're probably even higher than that. I'd say we're more like 75, 80% aligned. So there's only a few things where, you know, she likes to go off and have time with her girls or go off and spend time with her mum. And I like to go off and play volleyball or do my own thing. So we allow each other to go and do that. But the rest of the time, our goals are pretty much the same. But it's a constant conversation. It's not something you just have that conversation once and then forget about it, because your values are up for reevaluation as life changes. And as you're on the path towards your bigger goal, whatever your definiteness of purpose for your life, there's going to be setbacks along the way. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be things that come up that may cause you to have to slightly shift or negotiate your way around that obstacle. So for me, the clue to what are your values at the moment what are the things that you are focused on. And yes, I realized, just like you're saying, for years, money hasn't been in my list of values. So guess what? I wasn't making a lot of money, but I always made enough to get by. But I have found that in the past, when you suddenly put your focus and attention onto whether it's your health or your money or whatever, suddenly you start getting the results. For me this year, it's been a lot about health and fitness. And, you know, I'm getting those results where I've been dropping weight off and feeling a lot healthier and building my immune system and all that sort of thing. But you put your emphasis onto training and development, onto learning new things. Suddenly you're amassing a load of new knowledge. So I think I look at the thing as a holistic process, that perhaps 3 or 4 goals isn't quite enough. I think you need one in each area and then you're constantly going through, probably with this abundance game that you've talked about, which I haven't started yet, but I plan to start this week, is I do something similar. I do it I've been using Trello, but I set a major goal in each area, and then go, okay, what am I doing towards that achievement? So then that's giving me that focus on what the things that I'm actually valuing.
Yeah, great. That's I do remember doing the values exercise with you, and I really like what you just mentioned there around the goals in different areas, because when I was just thinking there around the rest of the goals for the year, they are some of them are in different areas, but some are very heavily focused on business. And it's even when, like I said, just sitting there and going, why don't I start the week by planning out all the things that I want to do that are fun for me?
Yeah.
Like one of the agreements on the Friday night that we went, we had to all make agreements, and there was some agreements that were set in stone, which were like, you know, respect people when they're speaking and so on. But so we all, if we had an agreement, we were to share it with the group. And then he dived into why that was important to us. And for me, I said, I agree to have fun and enjoy the process. And he actually didn't attack me as in brutally attack me, but he came to me from the angle of, you know, one of the big problems that people have is they're constantly striving for happiness. And then I was like, no, you don't. But he wasn't prepared to listen to me. He was already in his flow. But I said, I'm not talking about joy. I'm talking about having fun through the process. And I said, so, and it didn't get out. And I spoke to Beth about it, because Beth understood. And I said, for me, what I do, I love to do. But at the same time, if Beth walks in and is like, oh, just take a look at this video, look at this, is fun. Like, this is funny. I'm just still fixated on the screen. I haven't even looked at Beth. I'm still like, I've got to do this. So I've taken that element of, why can't I just take a moment to just watch a silly little video that's going to make me laugh? So that was what I was meaning. It wasn't about like, and this is where he was going. It's either one or the other, like all fun or boredom. And I'm like, no, I'm talking more around a balance. I don't want my day to be just all giggling all day, because that's not real. But at the same time, I was expressing that to him, and it made me realize that when we were discussing it, I just thought, that's how I'm going to start actually doing my week, is sit down and go, right, when am I going to go out 4-wheel driving? When am I going to go to the beach? You know, even like these things that are important to me that make me feel alive. When am I going to make the time for them? And then everything else can fit around that. And I know that a friend of mine who I got to know from a business a while back, she always scheduled the time with her 3 daughters into a calendar. And somebody it was like really important for this person to have a meeting with her. And she said, no, I'm not. She said, well, I need you. This time she said, no, that's the time with my daughters. And this lady apparently said to her, that's not an appointment. And she said, because she said, I've got an appointment. And she said, that's not an appointment. She said, it's an appointment with my daughters that is one of my highest values. Nothing gets in the way. And she says, that's the difference between you and I. I make it a necessity that is important for me and my family as a value to connect. So, and I remember hearing that and I was like, wow, that's so cool. But
none of us are perfect, Martin.
No, I know. I'm not going to beat myself up.
This is a common theme that comes up in all the books as well, is about, this possible suspicion that we should all be aiming for perfection. We'll always be aiming for it because none of us will ever achieve it. Your goals, this is why you can't do everything all at once. When you're doing one thing, it's at the cost of doing something else. So yeah, that's a great response, is to go plan your week and make sure that you've allocated a chunk of time for the things that are most important. And one of the biggest things that people don't make time for is themselves. They don't actually plan to have a chunk of time where they're reflecting, or they're reevaluating or reassessing, am I doing something? And so this quest for happiness is not something that's outside ourselves, it's from within. The happiness is there. You choose happiness. You don't have to go and discover it somewhere. It's not this elusive beast. You can be happy wherever you are, doing whatever you're doing. But when you plan what you want to achieve and you fit in and make sure you have time for each of those areas that will fill up that cup, then you're more likely to feel happy all the time because you're living in alignment. And that really is the key thing. It's like a constant process of reevaluation, because as you said, when you're doing one thing, you can't be doing something else. I try to combine as many things wherever I can. So for instance, if I go for a walk, we take the dog out for a walk. We do this every day pretty much. Joe and I take the dog out, which means we're getting fresh air and exercise, but we're also chatting about our goals and our values and what's going on with us this week. And so we're putting time into our relationship. So you're ticking a few boxes all at the same time. So that's time leveraging. The more you can take advantage of that and do that, the better. But yeah, none of us are perfect, and it's always an ongoing process. And it's quite normal to find, oh, hang on, that thing slipped. I haven't put any time into that this week. How do I get that back? How do I restore that balance again? It's like living on a ship, I suppose, on the ocean. It's always, moving. It's nothing's just constant and static. It's always changing. So we have to change accordingly. We have to be constantly flexible and responding. But the more we can be proactive, the less we have to be reactive.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. There was quite a lot. Like I was saying to Maya at the beginning, just before you jumped on, Tony, it was all going through that healing phase and that just letting stuff out and realizations around things as well. And I realized we did a meditation, because the whole thing was the first thing that they started was outside was this is about. I can't obviously quote it word for word, but one that Emilia said, this is about taking you back home, which the way that I broke it down was getting out your head and getting to your heart. And through a meditation, one of the songs that was played was Madonna. You only see what you want to see, what your eyes want you to see. How can life be what you want it to be? You're broken when your heart's not open. So, people are just bawling like through this because they're going through this. Who's the person that's coming up? Who's the person you're talking to, and so on. And in that moment, I realized that, and you know this, Tony, anyway, from a point of, you've seen me around Bessie, and you've known me for a number of years now, was that Bessie was my little girl. She was everything to me. She's my guardian angel and so on. And what was really interesting was February last year, I don't know if both of you know this, but I think you do, that I found out I've got a daughter. So, found out you didn't know. Yeah, I found out I've got a 10-year-old daughter, February last year. So back in England. So she's 12 in September this month. So,
a bit of a realization, isn't it?
It was huge. I literally spent all of 2019 in a daze and confused and attacking myself, and just there was so much going on. But I wanted to process it myself. I like there was only Dave, Beth, my mum and stepdad and my dad that knew, I think. With Southport being Southport, quite a few of my mates got to know pretty quick. I don't know how, but anyway, they got to know. So, but I was determined to process this because the answers are within. And I was like, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to try my best to get out of here. And, well, I'm going to do my best to get out of there. And I realized during this meditation that we had on the Sunday morning that I always said Bessie would leave me when I was ready to step up, when things were it was ready for me to go to the next level. She didn't need to be with me anymore. She carried me to where she needed me to carry me to. And what was really interesting was that I realized during that meditation that 2 weeks prior to Bessie's passing, my daughter had said that she wanted to have a regular conversation with me and build a relationship. And I had always said that Bessie's my little girl. And I realized in that meditation that Bessie, it was now time for her to move on because Lily was ready to step in, like to build that relationship. That's how I felt in there. And I was just like, gone. So that was a massive shift that took place for me. And what was really interesting was yesterday I had messaged Lily, and for the first time, she was like back and forth, bang, 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 bang. Whereas I'd message her and she'd see it and I wouldn't hear from her for maybe a week or two. So, but she was just like bang, 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 and then sending me pictures and just chatting away on WhatsApp. So it was really interesting, that realization on that. Whilst I was in that area of loss, it was what I actually gained. Like I was missing what I was gaining once I meditated into, like we said earlier on, Maya, around slowing down. Wow.
The John DeMartini breakthrough process. You heard of Dr. John DeMartini?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he does that breakthrough process where he talks about whenever we're evaluating anything that's going on in our life, he goes through this exercise where you go, okay, what was the good thing about what's just happened? And you sometimes have to look hard for that, but then you find something good that comes out of every bad situation. Mm. And then he goes, what was the bad thing about that? And what was the good thing about this? And you see, it's called the collapse process. You keep on asking until you're absolutely exhausted of all the possibilities. And he did this thing on stage with a guy who had just lost his mother. And the same thing, this guy was going through a lot of grief, and got him up on stage and was asking him these questions. And this guy was really feeling stuck. He felt like he couldn't move past this grief. He was, he used to go and see his mother and sit and have a meal with her every week and listen to all her stories and so on. And then I thought DeMartini was actually being quite brutal with him to start with, where he was saying, but what did you not like about going to see your mother? And it seemed like, whoa, that's a bit confrontational, But then the stuff started to come out where it was like, well, I don't like the food she's giving me. It's very stodgy, and I always feel very bloated and everything after I've been there, because she insists on giving me, feeding me up, because it was an old Italian family. It's like, you've got to eat all this stuff, that you didn't really want. And there was certain habits that she had, and she criticized him, and she gave him a hard time about a lot of the time. So it suddenly started to realize that it was actually quite a lot of things that he wouldn't miss about going to see his mother as well. And the reason I'm telling you this is what came up in the end of going through that process was that, yes, of course he still missed his mother, and of course he still grieved her, but the universe fills the void. Whenever one thing is taken away, and whenever you're missing one thing, you realize that it wasn't all the perfection and you're looking at it through rose-tinted glass. There would be things about the thing that you've lost that you don't actually miss, but the things that you do miss will be compensated for in some other way. So just as you've found your daughter to replace the daughter you've lost, in other words, Bessie, but you still find, if you lose a friendship, another friendship starts. If you lose money, money comes in from somewhere else. So the universe is always looking to complete the picture, like to make up the 100%. So where it disappears in one area, it will come back. And sometimes you might have to look for it, but it's always there. Yeah. So it's a great sort of universal yin and yang completeness that's always present. It's just that where we put our focus and where we label things. So when we tend to see a situation as either good or bad, black and white, good and evil, that kind of thing, happy and sad, but there's always elements of both in every situation. And we need that other side to it to make it work, to understand, like right down to atom level, we're all made up of protons and neutrons, so positive and negative, that needs to be there. So a lot of the mindset stuff that you hear spouted by people about always being positive and everything, we actually need the negative stuff. That's what helps us grow. Mm-hmm. And there's always an inherent lesson in every heartache, in every setback. There's always something for us to learn and grow from that. And sometimes we have to step back and look for what was the lesson in that situation.
Yeah, great share there, Tony. Yeah, absolutely. And I've learned that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
But you can see, I mean, it's been, we had not contacted for some time until recently. And the growth I've seen in you, and Joe's seen it too, has been massive, from, not to say that you weren't a great bloke before, but, you can see the wisdom that you've gained and the work on yourself that you've done, and the leadership that you've got there now, and all the skills that are there. When you put your focus into creating the lifestyle that you want and creating the skill sets that you want and the values that you have in there that you want to service, you're a great example of it. That you can go and set your mind with a definiteness of purpose towards what you want, and then do the work, and it comes to you. You're getting the results.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I appreciate that, and it's really nice that people see it on the outside, especially like you say, of that gap that we had where we hadn't really been in much communication. And it was interesting because I had a guy reach out to me a couple of weeks ago, and we've only just been able to speak last night. And I've never met him. He's connected with me online through another group that we just got mutual friends and so on. And he said, we finally spoke last night, and I think he's 8 years older than me, so he's 28, and yeah, and so I think he's like 48 or something, and he works away in the mines, and he says, I've been rattling my brains to think, what the hell does Martin do? And somebody, there was a lady who came on one of the calls, I think it was last Thursday night, she came on, and she was like, do you know anything about this Martin W. Ball? I ended up on a call with him, and I really liked what was shared, but I don't know anything about him. What does he do? How does he earn money? And so on. So anyway,
he was a gigolo in Perth, wasn't he?
Pardon?
I heard he was a gigolo in Perth, wasn't he?
Yeah. And anyway, we got talking about stuff, and he's like, oh, this is what I want to do. This is where I see my life going and stuff. And he's like, how did you get to where you are? What, who was it there that did all these, like your social media and all this stuff? And I said to him, there's majority of the stuff that I've done in the past, if not everything, is stuff that I've just done and I've learned. So I'll have either had a coach that's given me information, or I've watched YouTube videos and then I've gone and implemented it. Maybe I've read part of a book, and instead of the goal being to read the book, the goal is to action what I learned on that page or that chapter, not to finish the book. Because like you said there before, Maya, you're just trying to go through as fast as you can, never slowing down and learning. So he's like, well, who taught you how to do the video editing? I was like, me. well, how did you do that? And I went, well, what I realized was I wanted to speak to many people. That was the goal. So I realized that I had to perform a video. I had to do a video. And then I looked at my video and went, how can I make it better? Oh, I like this video I've just watched. What's that video outro thing they've got? I want one of them. Where can I go? I went to Fiverr and I found them, and I'm like, okay, I watched it. I went, that one aligns, feels right for me. I'm going to have that one. And I said, and that's how I did it. And then I'm like, well,
there's always a lot of challenges involved with anything like new that you learn like that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't just go, oh, I'll get that, and you go and do it. There's usually, you spend ages trying to figure out how to do it, and you stuff it up, and you persevere because you want to learn how to do it.
And one of the big things that I've always felt is important for me is, if I want somebody else to do it, I want to at least have some level of understanding. So if I am going to outsource it, I'm not turning around to them and going, why isn't it done yet? Why is it costing me this amount of money? Because I have an understanding of this takes time. If you're going to edit a video, there's a good chance you're probably going to have to listen to all of the content to pick out the golden nuggets or trim out any mistakes or whatever it may be, to make it come to the level of I don't know, I can't think of the right word, but
well, don't say perfection, because we can't have
no, I wasn't going to say perfection, but I was just going to say the expected delivery kind of thing. And this is what he was saying. He said, oh, it's all got to be like the highest standard. And I went, no, it doesn't. I said, mine's all done on my phone. I didn't have a microphone in the beginning, but then I was like, oh, it does sound, I watched a video with the difference between a microphone and without. And I went, I'll buy a microphone, $100 or whatever. And I said, and it just made it made the viewer's experience better. Not me, because it sounded exactly the same, me talking, but the experience of the viewer watching it was far better. It was cleaner, crisper, delivered better. So I said, and that's how it starts. You just get a bit better. But to be fair, I said, there's people, and he was very much, I want to earn 6 figures. I want to get out of the mines. And I said, the thing is that there's people earning 7 figures and they're videoing themselves on the bed talking through you on a YouTube channel about anything. They're not bothered about that. The purpose is, I have a message that people want to hear or they want to see something, and I'm going to put it out there. And there's an audience. Out of 7.7 billion approx people around the world, there's people that will listen to you or watch you or whatever it was going to be. And it was interesting to see that I feel that I've not limited myself throughout it. I've just gone, this feels right, and I'm going to go and do it. I don't know how the hell I'm going to do it, but it feels right, and I'm just going to go and do it, and it will work. I may be like this, but at the end of the day, it's better than being like this, just stuck. So, and that's, I think that's why really I've, so, and I'm very grateful you saying it, Tony, because it does mean a lot, especially coming from you and Joe, who I've always classed as friends, is to see that shift that's happened and the growth that's happened. Because I think sometimes we get so caught up in like doing, and we're in it, we don't see it for ourselves. And as we're constantly growing and evolving, it's the next thing we're striving for, the next thing we just have to do to get to the next point. So you don't necessarily stop to go, bloody hell, look where I've come from.
Yeah. That's about being kind to yourself as well, realizing, taking time to actually stop and reflect on what you have achieved rather than focusing on all the stuff you haven't yet achieved. Mm. And that helps with that whole thing about finding the happiness within you, is you suddenly realize, hey, I'm sort of comparing myself against this notion of perfection, and I'll never get there. And that can cause unhappiness or, dissatisfaction with your whole being. Whereas if you actually stop and go, hey, look, I'm always striving to be better, but I'm actually enough. I'm okay as I am. Yeah. I'm doing the best I can with the tools I've got at the moment. Yes, I can learn new things, and yes, I want to learn new things, and I will apply myself. But don't beat yourself up for what you haven't done or where you're not at yet, or don't compare yourself with somebody else because you don't know what they may have sacrificed to learn what they've learned or to get to where they've got to. So, you know, everyone is on their own journey. And that's why this whole talk, going back to values, is valuing what is important to you and putting in the work that it's going to take to create the kind of lifestyle that you want, or the kind of relationship that you want, or the kind of health that you want. You've got to put in the work, but it doesn't just go from not having it to having it. There's all these twists and turns and bumps along the road. And, you know, I've found everything I try to learn, especially in IT, never works right the first time. And I was about ready to throw the computer in the pool or something, you know, and then I persevere and I go, hang on, you've had similar problems before. You'll get through this. Calm down. Just, you know, go and have a cup of tea or something, come back to it. Okay, what am I missing here? What do I need to do? Oh, I'll Google it, and somebody will give you the answer to the thing that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So we've got such a resource available to us now. You know, and my stepson constantly reminds me of that. The first thing he always says, whenever you don't know something, he goes, well, just Google it. Yeah. I go, oh yeah, of course I can do that. Yeah. And there's a YouTube that somebody's done about how to do whatever it is you want to do, whether it's unblocking a drain or fixing a computer or, you know, anything. These days, everything is there for us. We have never lived in such an information-rich world as we do now, where the answers are all at your fingertips.
Yeah.
But we don't often stop to reflect on that and to you know, also acknowledge where we've come from, what we've learned. This is why keeping a journal, I really think, is so important. You know, taking those few minutes, whether you're a night person or a morning person, to actually sit there and go, what did Jim Rohn talked about a lot, you know, what did I learn from today? Extracting the juice from every day. What encounters did I have with people? What little stories, you know, chance conversations with somebody, or stopping to help somebody, or something that you've done. What did it teach you? And with the setbacks, what was the lesson in that setback? What can I do better next time around? And so again, it goes back to gratitude, feeling grateful for every day, for every opportunity to learn new things. Every challenge is a learning experience. Every setback is a growth experience. I just think that's probably one of the biggest things about this whole kind of self-development arena, is that most people don't set aside time to reflect and to think about where they're at and what they want, and also being grateful for what they already have.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Maya, how are you? There, you've been quiet for a while.
Yeah, it's not, well, it's not funny, you know, it's just a universe like it normally happens. But I was speaking with my aunt earlier, and she's been helping me with my my sales kind of presentation. And she's been talking about how I need to tell people about me, right? Like who I am. And, you know, for me, I've always been like, the first time that I can really remember is when I graduated high school. And, you know, I graduated, and for me, it was like, you know, it was an expectation. So I didn't see it as a success, right? And I remember my grandma being so happy, and I was just, you know, okay, cool. And then, you know, and this is all just came up for me today while I was speaking with my aunt, that, you know, I went to Georgia State. I got my, you know, my bachelor's degree in 3 years instead of 4. You know, I worked 2 to 3 jobs the whole time I was in school. You know, I graduated that May, and then by the next August, I had bought my first home, you know, and then my car is paid off, and all of the, and I've had 2 corporate jobs since before, like all of these things that have happened that I totally forgot about. Like, you know, and now looking at these things, they're all very successful things that I've done, but I didn't look at them like that. Even when I bought my house, you know, my mom was so, you know, everybody was like, oh my gosh, you know, this is an accomplishment. This is, you know, and I was just like, you know, I was like, yeah, right? What do you mean, yeah? Like, that's an accomplishment. Like, what are you talking about, right? So being able to reflect on that, and even in the piece of, I was speaking with my accountability partner, and she asked me, she was like, where's do you have your degree? Like, where is it? I was like, oh yeah, it's at my mom's house. And my mom doesn't live very far from me. So I was like, she was like, you need to put it up, right? I was like, oh, okay, I'll go get it. And, it was still sitting in the same spot it'd been sitting in for 2 years since she put it right there, right? And then to now have it in my house and I read it. I don't know if I read it when I first got it. I can't remember, but I read it this time and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool, right? Like, this is an awesome, reflection of what I've done, right? And then I, graduated like what, cum laude, but I don't even know what really it means, but it's on there, right? It's important. So like things like that, and just reflecting on like, you have to tell people like who you are and explain to them why you are where you are, right? And why you've done all these things, why you've accomplished these things, because that's really what my goal is, to get other people to shift the way they see themselves so that they can do the same thing, right? Because we're the only problem and the only solution that we have. Like, that's just it. That's like the law of laws right there. Like, you're it. You're all you got and you're all you're gonna have. So to explain that to other people, but to be able to tie what I've done in my life so far, and being 23, I don't know, I just feel like now my eyes are just like, wow, girl, like you're it, you're the shit. You've done it, like you're doing it. But I never really looked at it that way. So it was difficult for me to place myself in the position of telling other people how to be successful or what they need to do when I didn't see what I've been doing as success, right? Like and I think that was the shift that I needed for my business. Like, how am I supposed to tell other people how this is going to make them successful if I, don't count everything that I've done as a success, right? So yeah, just that piece, that reflective piece. It really, today was a really good day. I mean, like I said, the last few days have been, but today was a really good day for me to reflect on, all those things that I have accomplished, and now building a business, right? So I don't know, it's just cool how the universe just brings everything back around, like it always does. But yeah.
Yeah, great. That's awesome, Chef.
We should have been quiet all this time, Martin, and just listened to Maya.
I know.
Yeah, I try to stay in the background. But, yeah.
Never stay in the background, Maya. Never stay there.
I know.
Yeah, no, I think what we've got here is 3 powerful personalities. With a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge and a lot of growth, and that's what makes them such a powerful call. And there's never, I've come to realize over the years, there's no coincidences. The people who are either on the Zoom call or in the room are all the people who are supposed to be there at that given time. And we're even with the way this conversation flowed, just from starting with Maya, how it's been the week been since you saw, and then you jumping on Tony, and it just flowed right the way through. I know we just gone over the hour mark. So, but it's been awesome. There's been some great shares and some really deep and real topics covered. And that was one of the things that I was saying to this guy last night on the phone around when he mentioned about this lady coming on the call. And he's like, what's it about? And I was like, it's a mastermind. And the thing is, a lot of people, they automatically think when they hear mastermind that it's just business. And it's not, because your business is only a reflection of who you are and your own growth and your own life. And that's, I said, so what we have 2 separate calls. One's very much about life, personal growth, experiences, sharing our experiences with others, helping each other move forward to then help others. I said, and the other call that we have as a gold star is more around getting into the nitty gritty stuff of helping more people globally through the power of Noble Goldman and leveraging the tools that we've got to help us succeed and whatever our desired success is. And I said, but the challenges is why I decided a few weeks back to just test and share the personal growth one on like a live call, as in streaming it live, was because I wanted to help people see that we can talk about the real stuff. We can empower each other by coming together. We don't need to sit there in a state of what's going to happen, or where can I go? I know that I was there in a place of there's nothing for me, and what's the point in being here and all that anymore. And yet we can get on a call and have a real conversation with people that in many cases we've never met before. And that to me is important, why I was choosing to share. And I've had a few people say, I don't want to be on the calls because I don't want to be sharing stuff. I'm like, well, that straight away says to me that just where you're at right now. But that's a reason why, even if you don't want to share, just be on the call and be in that energy. Or don't share something that you feel is you don't want to put out there. You don't have to say everything that you don't want to go out there. But at the same time, are you working through that stuff behind the scenes then? What are you doing to help you through that?
The other thing is that when you share things like that, whatever your life experiences are, you never know how much that's resonating with somebody else, because they may be facing the same challenge that you've had, maybe slightly differently, but there's a lot of similarities, or they know they're about to go through something similar. And they might learn some little nugget of wisdom from what you've shared that helps them in some way. And so that's the power of it. Is we don't you said it brilliantly there, Maya. You know, how can I teach others about success if I don't treat my own achievements as success? It's the same with any life challenge that we have. The fact that we've lived and gone through it, and we talk about it as if it's nothing, and then somebody else is going, oh my God, how did you deal with that? Wow, that's amazing. You know, and you're just dismissing it as nothing. But you just don't know when your words may just hit the mark with somebody that's really going through something, and you could change their life. That's the ripple effect, you know. You just don't know. So in a way, they're being selfish by not sharing, coming forwards. It's kind of our duty, especially in what the world is going through at the moment, to think more outwardly instead of not as well as inwardly. We need to be on our own journeys inwardly, but we also need to realize that we all matter. We all help each other. We're all connected. We're all human. And that human connection, this is the biggest thing I've felt that I've gained so far from getting involved with this, is that realizing that humanity is all dependent on each other. And, you know, like you said, what might seem like an insignificant thing to you may be a big deal for someone else who's just going through it. And just by a few words, it can help them to know that they're not alone, that they're not the only one who's facing that particular challenge. So that was a fantastic statement you made there. I love that one.
I really, really like what you just brought up there, Tony, because last night when I was talking to this guy and he was saying, well, you know, what are you earning from all this stuff? And I said to him, it's irrelevant what I'm earning or not earning. What is important for me is the value I'm receiving and the ability to share the value that I've got with the community. I said, so I was brought into Noble Goldman in particular to bring the Enagic onto the platform. And it was from an angle of, oh, you're going to help all these people, you're going to earn a fortune. And that's what I was told about it. And I came in to go, and I'm like, well, what is it? So because I do my best to always be open to actually go and learn about things. I was like, when I spoke to Mark and found out about NG, I loved the whole vision, the philosophy, everything about it. I loved it. And it's a year this month. At the end of this month, it's a year I've been a member of Noble Goldman, but really only the last 3 months I've been actually an active member of Noble Goldman because I didn't do anything before. And Enagic is still not on Noble Goldman because, and this is what I said to him last night, I said, the value I receive from the relationships that I'm creating and building and the conversations that I have far outweigh the monetary value. And once I stopped looking at things as the monetary and looking at it for what am I receiving based on what am I giving, I'm like, wow. And the money's been taking care of itself elsewhere. But if I don't show up to these calls, then I'm missing out on that nurturing process that I need for me. And the only way that I explained it, Lisa Bowen, who I think you may know, not sure if you've met, you've met Lisa Meyer. She's a Bob Proctor consultant.
She's one of the most inspirational people I've come across on these.
She's amazing. She's just amazing. And I said to her, the way that I explain these calls, these jumping on the masterminds and so on, is kind of like, you know, when you see the the adventure game shows where they've got to get around a course, and there's a platform, and then there's like 4 or 5 big, huge balls that they've got to bounce off, and if they fall off, they land in water. Well, that's the way that I see it. So I'm here at the start of my week, and I'm up here, and I'm loving everything that's going on, and then slowly things are just not quite maybe going right, or I'm getting a bit tired because I'm exerting all this energy. And then I come to the mastermind, which is a ball, and I bounce off, and I've got all this incredible energy, and I'm just driven, I'm just focused now, and I'm back, and then I come down a bit, bang on the next ball because of the next mastermind. I'm just feeling empowered because of the conversation, the relationships, it's aligned with me, who I am and where I'm going and who I want to become. And therefore, it's not wasted time, where some people go, you facilitate 4 masterminds a week. That's at least 4 hours of your time. And I'm like, but where are you spending 4 hours of your time that isn't actually empowering you or helping you go where you want to go? Isn't building relationships, isn't building connections, isn't actually making a positive difference in your life and in the lives of others. Like, that's fulfilling to me, which is a very powerful word. I'm fulfilled when I come off these calls going, wow, what an opportunity. I'm so grateful I had the ability to connect and learn from other people, as well as share whatever came up for me at the time.
Isn't it funny how that when other people say things, it's the very thing that we need to be thinking about, or that's on our mind at the time. I'd had the exact same conversation in my own head last night, where I was replaying a recording of last week's seminar that you had, well, last week's Connection Mastermind group, and I didn't tune into that one because I waited for the mastermind afterwards, the Gold Star call, and skipped the other one. And I was like, oh no, there's so much good stuff in this. And I'm sitting there typing away notes. So I've written this rather lengthy summary of what I observed from the conversation. I wish I'd been on that call, because I would have been able to contribute these things and, discuss these other points. And I was kicking myself thinking, well, yeah, but then again, that's what, 3 hours a week. And then there's the Mark's calls as well. And how many hours? And then I thought, well, again, it comes back to values. Am I going to sit here on my own watching a recording, or am I going to be on the call and actually trying to participate if I can? I mean, obviously there's some times where life gets in the way and you have to just work around that. But if you can be there, because being involved is what helps you grow and helps you move on. And like I said before, you never know when you say something that might just resonate with somebody else too. So it's powerful. I think that you made a good point there, Martin, that sometimes when you're trying to explain this to other people, it's like any new thing that you bring up with people, they're always a bit skeptical and a bit suspicious, and oh yeah, but what's it really all about? Isn't it just one of those sort of cult things, or you just try to make money out of people? No, it's actually the complete opposite. It's actually about sharing and giving, and then what you'll get back in the nuggets that you hear from other people and the experiences that are shared is priceless, to use to compare with those old adverts that you used to see. It is priceless. It's something you really can't put a value on, because the very thing that you need to hear is right there. Somebody's saying it.
Yeah. And
it can blow past like tumbleweed in a Western movie, or you can capture that gold nugget and take it and run with it and turn it into whatever you want to do with it. Is if you apply it, if you take that knowledge, that learning, and apply it somewhere.
Yeah. I like what Corey said the other week, where he actually was sat with his son, and he gone, oh, I'm supposed to be on a mastermind here now. And his son said, aren't you supposed to be on a call, Dad, now?
Yeah.
And he thought, I'll just hang out with his son. He's like, no, Dad, you said you were going to be on the call. You got to go on this call. And his son, I think his 8-year-old or 11-year-old son. So he got on and came on, and he got what he needed, and then went back and did what he needed to do. So it's that thing of, I know what you said there before, doing one thing is at the cost of another. But I think it also comes down to what is the value of it, as we were talking about earlier on. What is the value of me being on this call, rather than watching a movie or doing something else that may be still important, but there's still a level of value that needs to be looked upon and gone, well, once again, like I said earlier on, if I put that in my diary, I've made that commitment. That's important to me. If I don't plan my week out, so to speak, and don't put, if I plan my week out, I don't put them in there, is it really that important? Is it really helping me get there? And this is where in chapter 8 around definiteness of purpose, the devil was talking around that. And I know that he said that when Napoleon asked him, which is more powerful, a weak plan with like daily, with committed action versus a strong plan with weak action. And the devil said, a weak plan will always become stronger and be achieved with that continued commitment, something down those lines. And you look and go, well, that's why when I and I've heard of this a lot from Gary, who occasionally comes on the calls, and he said, you make your goal, you don't need to know how you're going to achieve it. The mind will take care of it. If it feels right, if it aligns with you, just go for it, and it will all come together. And even when I look at when Jim Carrey was interviewed by Oprah, and he said he was sat up there and he wrote a check for $10 million and he didn't know how he was going to do it, but he just did what he knew he needed to do. And then 5 years later, bang, there's the money in his bank. You look and go, he just did what he just felt he needed to do that aligned with him, and he was rewarded. So,
well, that was a key addition. He had to take action. You know,
he had to take action, yeah. Because he even said on it, he can't just sit on the couch and eat a sandwich and expect it to be delivered. But you do that action is key. And I know that when you and I were working together in the early days, Tony, you had said the one thing that I've got to give you credit for is you do the work.
Yeah.
You know, we don't just catch up for an hour or whatever it was and then go off and do something else. You actually do the work. So that I think
the only thing I'd give you credit for, but yeah, it was a key thing.
Well, especially as a coach, and I know for Maya, you know, where Maya's at right now, I think that's the important part. And this is what I was saying to this guy last night, was that because he was confused around his market and where people are at. And I said, the thing is you can go and throw a load of money at adverts, but if you don't know who you're wanting to work with, if you don't know your audience, because at the moment he's talking to a lot of people up on the Mind site, and he says, oh, that they value it. They're not saying no. And I said, and I said to him, one of the things that I've learned is you've got to be aware that there is a difference between people who are ready for it and ready to invest in themselves with it, rather than people who are just being courteous to you, to listen to you and go, oh yeah, cool, that's great, and letting you speak, and they're not going to do anything about it. I said, that's why I shifted more into the Noble Goldman community, because you know what? I'm surrounded by people, those people who choose to be gold stars. I'm not saying the free members aren't, but those people who choose to be gold stars have chosen to take that step forward and gone and want to be on the gold star calls. They want to have those conversations, you know, being on this call now. I know you're a free member, Maya, but you've taken the step and you're taking the action. They're the people who I want to be around, not everybody else. The way that I describe it is it's the golden nuggets. I've been sieving through all the dirt and now found the golden nuggets, and I don't want to be in the dirt anymore. So that's part of the process that I found for me, but it's come to a place where if I don't put myself in, and that's why I said, like this guy, when he was contacting me, because he's in the mines, the internet's crap. And I said to him, if you want to be around me, you want to learn from me, you have to be a Noble Goldman member. That's the way I'm communicating it to everybody now. If you're not prepared to step into this and start implementing the abundance game, starting to get on this and get on the calls, you're not the person that I want to be giving my energy to. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. That's respect for myself.
I think Lisa was saying that on that call that I was listening to yesterday, that she's going to get all her clients from now on to be on it.
All her TII clients are going to go into NG, yeah. And
I thought that's fantastic. That makes so much sense. I just want to share something that follows on from what you were saying there. I was listening to, sorry, Myra, I'm going on again. I should shut up and let you
I'll have to wrap it up in a couple of minutes anyway, Tony, so it's all right.
Okay. So it was a Wayne Dyer tape I was listening to way back in the car long years ago. And he gave this great analogy, and he said, the mind is like a pair of elasticated boxer shorts. You know, he said, you can, you know, those boxer shorts you wear, they've got elastic around the waist. You can stretch them and they'll go back into shape. You stretch them, they go back into shape. one day you stretch them that little bit too far and they never can go back into the shape that they were again. And the mind is like that. Once you've learned something, you cannot unlearn it or unrealize it. That realization has hit you like a ton of bricks and you've moved forwards. And then you have to embrace that new level of awareness. And not everyone is ready to take that next step yet, to take the point that you've just made. And the other thing I would just add to that is that it's when you come on these calls, it's your responsibility to extract the value. It's not, the people that come on expecting everything's just going to be handed to them. You have to actually think, what did that person just say there? What did I learn from that? How could I apply that in my life and then do something with it? So you can have the spectators or the voyeurs who just come along and, oh, that's all very nice. Yeah, that's an interesting conversation. Yeah, very good. Oh, yeah, that was interesting. They don't do anything with it. You've got to actually go, if I'm going to schedule this in my diary, I'm going to make it mean something. I will get something out of this call, whatever it is. I don't know what it is yet, but I will get it out of that call. And when you do that, sure enough, you turn up and you're present, you do get something. Every time you get something out of it.
Yeah. Great shares. I really appreciate you both taking the time to be on and share your value as well. So it's been a thoroughly enjoyable call. I'm going to have to close this up because I'm supposed to have the Gold Star call open up now for people to be logging on.
Do I need to go to a different link for that then, Martin?
Just go into the private messenger chat group and just click on the Gold Star link and it will come up, Tony. Okay. So thank you, Mai. Great to see you again. And I hope everything goes well with getting the cast taken off on Friday.
I know, right? Thank you.
And thank you, Maya, for that inspiration. That was great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate being on this call with you. I like you. I mean, not to say I don't like other people, but you give me good vibes.
Tony has that effect on people.
I'll turn up again then. Good.
Thank you.
It's because he's a ginger like me, Maya. We're gingers. People mock us, but we're exceptional.
Absolutely. My best
fighting for a more colourful country, fighting for a more colourful universe.
I like it. I'm here for it.
All right. You take care.
Cheers.
All right. Have a good one.
See you on.